Recently, I picked up an original Xbox, and I've been having a blast going back through some of my favorite games again, as well as some I never even knew about or even got a chance to play growing up. And one of those games is Fuzion Frenzy.
Fuzion Frenzy!
Now, Fuzion Frenzy is a couch party co-op game that took the world by storm as a launch title for the Xbox back in November of 2001, and later on had a sequel for the Xbox 360 in 2007. Now, okay, maybe it didn't take the world by storm, but it did blow me away as a kid, and the game was really fun, so sue me. Ever since I got an original Xbox again, I finally have been able to play Fuzion Frenzy in its entirety after owning a copy for so long and not being able to. And I've gotta say that while the graphics definitely aren't the best to date by a long shot, the game still has so much to offer nearly 22 years later. Anyways, while you could buy Fuzion Frenzy on its own, you also had an opportunity to get a taste of the game as a demo built into Halo Combat Evolved. This was alongside a demo of Oddworld's Munch's Odyssey and a few other game trailers as well. Now, for those of you who didn't grow up during that time of gaming, it was a whole lot different than it is today. And honestly, it was actually really neat to see hidden gems of those game demos and trailers, all for things that you either knew were coming out soon or for games that you couldn't wait to get your hands on. Now, this is also neat, especially considering that during that time, the internet was still really slow and kind of a wonky infrastructure. So having these kind of things isolated to something that was smooth and easy to play through really was a top tier experience. Shout out to moving past dial-up. Now, the Fuzion Frenzy demo only had 8 of the 45 mini games, but even with such a seemingly limited amount, this was exactly how I was hooked into the game as a kid. The game demo, for what it offered, you would be hard pressed to find anything of the same level of value today in modern games due to the pure amount of replayability. Now, while I do think it was really cool to have those discs and demos, it's definitely better to get our hands on these things today with digital game marketplaces and high-speed internet with YouTube. So don't think I'm sitting on my front porch screaming at the birds, wishing it was the good old days, because in any lineup, I'd pick our current situation in a heartbeat. Okay, so let's dive into what made this game actually special to begin with, and realistically why I'm even making this video. First off, there was 2 ways to play this. There was a tournament-style event where you play a variety of randomized mini-games on stages, and in those you earn gems which equate to essentially series points. All of this leading up to a final challenge, aptly called Fuzion Frenzy. At the final game of a stage, the Fuzion Frenzy, you can either bank up the points or bet points that can be put up to score higher on a multiplier in the challenge if you score them. Now, the twist here with this is that other players can steal those points if you choose to bet them, and they can score them for themselves by smacking you down with their super sick moves. Or in some cases, they have weapons too if the map drops them. Now, the final game in these stages can really be a make or break moment, especially if you've either been super behind the entire time, or it can take away all your hope in an instant if you've been in the lead the whole time. It's a really neat balancing system for party games that even a certain plumber can't seem to sort out sometimes. Now, the other option you have to play these is just a singular selection of minigames, and you can just kind of rapid fire these one after the other, or you can play the same one over and over and over again, either until your fingies get sore, or until grandma throws the controller through the TV. Both are really fun ways to play the game, but it's realistically up to you how you want to spend your time. Now, moving on to the minigames themselves, one of my favorites is Twisted System, not to be confused with Twisted Sister. This minigame has all the players starting out even in a line, and as the system twists, there are 2 obstacles that you have to avoid. One that you jump over, and one that you duck under. Which, on that note really quickly, I literally dumped so many hours, I wouldn't even be able to give you a ballpark number into this demo as a kid. And only when I started making this video, did I notice that the ducking obstacles has a literal duck on it. I mean, can we talk about how adorable that is? Anyways, as time goes on through this game, the platform speeds up and the obstacles get harder to keep up with if you're not careful. It's one of my favorites because of how simple yet difficult the game is. I know, so profound, right? There's also a mini game that I really like called Trailblazers that just lit up a fire inside me as much now as it did then. But not like the good kind, more of like the kind that you think this is really cool, but because you suck at it, you absolutely hate it. And that's why I like this mini game. It's essentially like those Tron bikes if they were made to look kind of like bumper cars, kind of, but these had some of the most sensitive controls ever that I've ever played in any vehicle for any video game. It's really hard, I'm horrible at it, but man, is it just really cool. Another one that stands out to me is Sumo, because I mean, duh, what isn't cool about knocking your opponents off of a collapsing platform ring in a giant cage? Exactly. Now, across these 45 minigames, there's actually some recycled core ideas, which we do have to keep in mind that this game was in the times of pushing boundaries for how games function today, so we should probably give it a break for just how repetitive it is. Things like the airboats being used for different minigames, the sumo balls, the light bikes, even in the rhythm games. All of these had core elements reused to create offshoots of different minigames. So while 45 minigames seems like a large number, and it is, I'd say that it's probably more about like half-ish of the amount of different minigames within the game. So I know by now you're thinking, oh man, Chipmunk, I really want to play now, but how do I? If you already own a copy of Halo Combat Evolved or a copy of the full game, and you have an original Xbox or even an Xbox 360, you can still experience this game for little to no cost. Now, if you don't have either or any of those things, you're still in luck, so don't worry. Fuzion Frenzy can also be played on modern Xbox consoles for a fairly decent price actually. Now, sadly, there's no PC ability as of recording this video, but hey, maybe one day. With gaming becoming more and more online only, sometimes we really just want a fun game to kick back and relax and just have genuine fun over. You can invite your friends, or maybe even set aside time for a family activity. There are hours of fun to be had here with Fuzion Frenzy, and while it's not Super Plumber Man 5, it's still a quality experience if you're looking for a cheap game to pick up and play. Again, like I said, it's relatively easy to pick this up either digitally or even a physical copy online. So whichever way you're looking to play, I hope you have a great time. Now, with all that said, if you'd like to support the channel, then, consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. But if not, no worries. I hope to see you next time anyways. That does it for this video, and thank you so much for watching. I'm the Chipmunk Punk, and I'll see you all, hopefully, next time.